Hello everybody. Today we're going to explore volume again, but I want to start out by pointing out some things with area before we go on with volume. So to begin with, we need to remember what volume is. We'll go into area and then transfer into investigating more about volume. So volume is measuring the capacity of a three-dimensional shape. So remember, a three-dimensional shape is like a rectangular prism or a cube. And if you remember last time, I asked you to go into your kitchen and find some rectangular prisms. Now I showed you a cereal box, my Cheez-It box, and I showed you an eBay box. And each one of those was a rectangular prism, and I could put things into it and fill it up. And when I fill it up, that means that I'm putting things in to show how much it's capable of holding. Remember, we heard capable sounds like capacity. All right, so now we're going to move on to reviewing area and then kind of telling the difference between the two. And then I'm going to show you some neat things that you can do with volume. All right, so right now I have some things drawn on my centimeter grid paper, and hopefully you downloaded the centimeter grid paper. You've got that ready to go. You've got some crayons, markers, or colored pencils, something to color with. You have your scissors and your tape. So if you don't have all of those things ready yet, you might want to pause the video and then come back. All right, so I'm going to show you here some things with area, and then we're going to use this to show the difference between area and volume. All right, so to begin with, I colored in 5 squares, and you can go ahead and do that while I'm talking on the video. I have 5 squares colored in. And the thing that I remember about area is that it's measured in square units. So we've got squares. I know it's flat on the paper. That's why I know it's area. It's something I can't pick up and look at it from different sides like I can a rectangular prism. So that's where we get the square units. So it's on the paper and it's measured in squares. Okay, so right now I know that since I have 5 squares, I have 5 units squared. And this is the way we write it. But we can also say it 5 square units. All right, so my next figure, I've colored in 4 squares. So obviously, since I have 4 squares, I've got 4 square units. So it's written 4 units squared, and it can be said 4 square units. All right, so my third figure that I have colored in 6 squares. So I have 3 on one row and 3 on another row. So I have 6 squares, or 6 units squared. So if you don't have that all done yet, you might want to pause the video and then come back so we can compare area and volume. Okay, so I have a copy of that centimeter grid paper. I've got it here on my table. Now I have some little wooden cubes, and I'm going to use those in order to show you the difference between area and volume. So I've got my centimeter grid paper, and I'm going to place these cubes on top of my 5 square units. So I'm going to go ahead and place these here, and immediately I can see the difference between the flat surface that I had before and the cubed surface that I have now. I notice that my cubes stick up off of the paper, and so I'm really not filling anything in. So that's showing me the difference between area and volume. Area is flat, volume sticks up. So I've got my 5 cubes. Now I can go ahead and I can fill in, and I can see the difference here too. I can go ahead and fill in the 4 square units, and again I'm noticing that there's a big difference. This is up off of the paper. It's 3-dimensional. So then I'm going to try this again, but I'm going to do something a little different this time. If my box that I was filling in, if this had sides, might not just be one layer. My box might be taller than that. So I can fill in the rest of the box, my imaginary box here. And I notice that I can have, when I have volume, I can have more than one layer. So there we go. So that's kind of showing you that there is a big difference between area, which is flat, and volume, which fills in or will fill in a rectangular prism. So that's kind of just to show you the difference. You can also show that difference if you have some Legos at home. And what I did was I went ahead and filled it in an imaginary box. And so I've got the volume of my imaginary box with the different colored Legos. So that's another visual model that you can use in order to better understand volume. So now what we have, these are called nets. And what we're going to do with the nets, you're going to go ahead and pause the video and you're going to cut around the outside of the net. Now I don't want you to cut the center, you're just going to cut around the outside like this. So for instance, this net, when you cut it out, this net is going to look like this. So, and then I have this net right here. Okay, when I cut that out, and see I still have that colored space in the middle. And then I have this net right here. So the next part of the activity will be dealing with these nets and showing how this shows volume. So go ahead and pause the video, cut these out, make sure that you have your tape ready, and we'll do the next part of the lesson. So pause the video and come back when you're finished cutting these out. Okay, now that you've cut these out, let's talk a little bit about how we can construct these in order to show the volume. So we remember that the formula for volume is length times width times height. Okay, so I have it written out here in words, but then I also have the L for length, the W for width, and the H for height. Okay, so we're going to start off with the net that looks like this, and it's got the 3 by 2 by 2. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to put it together kind of like a puzzle. So I'm going to use a piece of tape and fold these. I'm going to fold these in and then use my tape to put them together. So this can be a little tricky, but you can put these together just like a puzzle, and then we'll be able to tell the volume of these. And we can also use the formula in order to figure the volume. I also am going to use my blocks, and if you have some blocks at home, now this is centimeter grid paper, so your blocks are going to have to be centimeter blocks in order to effectively show the volume. So I've got my net just about ready to go here. Don't worry if you struggle a little bit with this. My fingers sometimes don't work right, so I understand. So I've got my first net completed. And I'm taking a look at that, and I have to look at the length. I've got the length, which is 3 times my width, which is 2, times my height, which is also 2. So when I multiply this, I'm going to go ahead and multiply the first two numbers first. Orders of operation, you go from left to right, just like you would read. So we've got 6 times 2, which gives me 12. So we've got 12 units cubed. So if I put the blocks in here to fill it up, I should be able to get 12 blocks. I've got 3 at the bottom. Now I got to get my 3 on the other side. I hope you're able to see this all right. Now, just remember, do you remember how when we were putting them here, we did 1 layer? Now see, I can tell that this isn't full. So this isn't to full capacity, or it's not all that it's capable of holding. So I've got to put another row in. And I like how this is because it's all visual and we can really see how this formula works in real life. So I'm filling this up. So I had 6 on my bottom layer, and then I've got 6 in the top layer. So I've got my 12 in there. So see how that works? So that's how these nets work. They kind of allow us to fold this and make this into a puzzle to make it more visual so that we can actually see how this formula works in real life. Okay, so my next net, and I'm going to fold this in. My next net is going to be this net right here. It's the one that's 5 by 2 by 2. So then I'm going to fold it up and I'm going to do the same thing as I did before. And fold this in and then use the tape to put it together. So again, it's like another puzzle. And don't get frustrated about the tape if it starts sticking to your fingernails or if your fingers are having a little bit of trouble with it, because if you noticed, I had a little trouble last time too, and who knows, maybe I'll go again. So I've got my tape and I'm going to try to put it down and then fold this in so that it's, see, it's stuck to my fingernail again. So I've got a square corner, which we talked about in geometry, I hope you remember. And then get another piece of tape, put that in here. Okay, and then I've got one more side to finish. And then we'll talk about the formula and how that works with this completed net. All right, my last side. All right. All right, it's not beautiful, but it works. All right, so what we've got here is we've got 5 for my length, 2 for my height, and 2 for my width. So this time, I'll go ahead and erase the last one that we did. This time we've got a length of 5, a width of 2, and the height of 2. So this should tell me how many blocks that I would have to put in here, okay? So if I did, again, remember we have orders of operation. So when we multiply, we do left to right, multiplication and division, left to right. So we've got 5 times 2 is 10, and then 10 times 2 is 20. So we've got 20 units cubed. So I would be able to, just like I did with this last net, I would be able to put 20 cubes in here to fill it to capacity, or that's all it can capably hold. Okay? All right, so then my last net, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to fold it in. And then put it together like a puzzle. Hopefully get the square corners in here with a little less problem, because this one's a little taller. So I have a feeling that this is going to be a little easier. I may have just jinxed myself though. All right. I've got this side. So far, so good. I've got this square corner and one more. All right. So now I've got to take a look at this and try to figure out the formula for this net. All right, so this net, we've got a length of 4, we've got a height of 3, and we've got a width of 3. So 4, 3, 3. So 4 times 3 times 3. All right, remember, left to right, multiplication. So we've got 4 times 3, it's 12. Times 3 more is 36. And it would be 36 units cubed. All right, so another thing that I found in my house that I thought was interesting, that was also a rectangular, a cube actually, and it has where you can see the volume of it almost because of the different cubes that are put together, is a Rubik's Cube. So I don't know if you have any Rubik's Cube at your house, but I thought that was kind of interesting. I thought I'd share that with you. All right, so my challenge to you is to see if you can build either with Legos or blocks or something else that you might have. See if you can build something and then figure out with the blocks, what volume does it have? If you were to put a box around it or a rectangular prism around it, what would that volume be for that? So that's just a challenge for you. Okay, well, I hope you liked and enjoyed this activity. Hopefully you're understanding volume a little bit more. This makes it more visual and understandable. So keep looking around your house and see if you can find some more rectangular prisms, all right? Keep watching and keep learning.